Yep. Here we are, 127. I'll switch this. I'll switch this. Is it which way is it usually? Jules, usually right or left? I can't remember. You're right.
I don't think it
There
matters.
you go. Yeah, Dan lost a bit of hair in the last week.
You reckon he's looking better?
Definitely better looking. How are you, Paul?
Oh, man, I'm bloody fantastic. I'm actually so happy to do this with you boys tonight. I'm fucking looking forward to this. This is going to be good.
It's going to be good. The last 2 days since I asked you, you've been texting me flat sticks saying you can't wait for this podcast.
I'm fired up, mate. I'm fired up on every front. I've just seen things I like. I've seen things I don't like.
Hey, tonight we're going to rip it to shreds. Are we not, Jules?
Oh, yeah.
I reckon I know how you're feeling. I reckon I know how you're feeling since Friday.
Yeah, I've to be honest, I haven't really been communicating too much in our chat other than today, I think. I sort of let it to digest a little bit. But today in our chat, I've obviously gone to town a little bit. But Joe, obviously it's morning there, so you would have just woken up to everything. But yeah, obviously a lot of talk about tonight, that's for sure.
Well, it's 10 a.m. I've been up for a couple of hours, but the only footy I've seen today was on Instagram just then of Harley Reid absolutely burning the Melbourne midfield, and it was ridiculous. That is the highlight of the weekend in football for me, because Carlton were absolute dog shit. So anyway, let's hit this thing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's our moment. We finally, as a generation, we can hang our hat on a genuine moment.
Honestly, we are a force because of the intensity that we play at is just next level.
We want to be here. We want to impact finals. And it's one thing of obviously saying it, but we just lived it.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 127 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, part of the Blue Broad Media Network and proudly powered in 2024 by Image Online. You can see the logo there in the bottom right-hand corner. Now we've got a big show today, and we're going to get to the Carlton Swans review, but we're going to start this differently to what we do most weeks. Got a guest with us now in the green room. He's waiting. It is the great man himself, David Rhys-Jones. He's going to join us today for the 15 for 15 Prader-Willi Syndrome challenge that he's embarking on again in 2024. Before we get him in, I've got a little 2-minute video for everyone on the 15 for 15, and then we'll chat to Rhys on the other side of this.
G'day, David Rhys-Jones here. You might remember me from my AFL days. Yeah, the same guy known for having a fiery temperament on the field and a couple of visits to the tribunal. But today I'm here as a dad for a cause very close to my heart. When my son Cooper was born, our lives changed forever. Cooper was diagnosed with Prader-Willi Syndrome, a rare genetic condition that affects the 15th chromosome and 1 in every 15,000 births. It's a tough journey. Imagine feeling hungry all the time, but never feeling full, coupled with the daily challenges that come with Prader-Willi Syndrome. This hunger I speak of isn't ordinary. From around the age of 2, people with Prader-Willi Syndrome develop an insatiable hunger that lasts a lifetime. Imagine being hangry all the time, your mind plagued by anxiety, exhaustion, anger, frustration and stress with every thought consumed by food. Yet for our own safety, your diet must be heavily restricted. Imagine facing these overwhelming feelings every minute of every day. This is the reality for those living with Prader-Willi Syndrome. It's incredibly challenging. That's why I'm inviting you, your friends and your colleagues and family to join us in the 15 for 15 challenge. Our aim is to rally our community and raise as much money as we can to help support those living with this often debilitating syndrome. Every play you make is a game changer. Join our team this May by scoring one of these great Ross Faulkner footies, grab a raffle ticket for a dream holiday, or by sporting a t-shirt from our Awareness Connect collection. You can also create your own fundraiser or simply donate. Every donation goes into the draw to win a signed, leather, limited edition Ross Faulkner football. By getting involved, you're helping the Prader-Willi Syndrome Association of Victoria make real impactful change for those affected by Prader-Willi Syndrome and provide vital care and support to families like mine. My journey from the football field to advocating for Prader-Willi Syndrome awareness has been unexpected but meaningful. Seeing the resilience of my son Cooper and so many others like him inspires me every day. Together, let's rally and kick goals for a cause that's bigger than the game. Thank you for everyone for watching, and thank you even more for your support. Let's show the strength of our community and let's kick some goals for those living with Prader-Willi Syndrome. See you in the comp.
And we've got the great man with us tonight again. Welcome back, Rhys. Good to have you back on the show, mate.
Yeah, great to be here. That's the first time I've actually seen all of that. So I think it took a few takes to get it all done. But it's obviously very near and dear to my heart. Obviously, Cooper, he's 20 years old now, and he's suffers with Prader-Willi Syndrome 24/7. So that's the life we live around. I just had my wife come in to help me just set the computer up and that, and we did you lock the fridge was a pantry lock sort of thing. They're the sort of things we go through every day, but yeah, a bit awkward, but anyway, up and going.
There you go. We've got the ticker tape down the bottom as well while we've got Rhys on for the next 15 to 20 minutes. You can donate now at 15for15.com.au or visit pwsavic.org.au for more details around this challenge and around this debilitating disease. Rhys, I personally, up until last year when we had you on, I'd never heard of the disease, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are with us and that are listening, whether they're watching live or listening on Spotify later this week, that have probably never heard about it. We heard a little bit about it then in that intro. But can you give us a little bit more insight into how much is sort of being done in the space to raise awareness and raise funds for such a for such a, I guess, great cause that probably doesn't get the spotlight that it probably needs?
Yeah, look, it's not, and I'm lucky. I've had a bit of fame in my career, I suppose, and been able to get a bit of media attention to this condition and help the Prader-Willi Association. But it's not a disease; it's a syndrome, and it's actually created by a defect, either a deletional person or partial deletion of the 15th chromosome. And the chromosomes are what piece us all together and make us who we are, sort of thing. And this part of this 15th chromosome affects a part of the brain that it's a hypothalamus, which in brief terms is basically a regulator. Regulates our, our hunger, obviously, with Cooper, his mood, his anxiety, his intellect, it affects a whole range of things. It's basically he's unregulated, and there's one in about 15 to 20,000 births. No rhyme or reason. It's just one of those freak of nature things that happen. And so we need to bring awareness of the people who've got it, as well as raise some much needed funds for the organisation as well. It's the association's run by mums and dads of people with Prader-Willi Syndrome. There's no government assistance at all. So, we're out there battling to, and it's tough out there. And I can understand, people looking at the moment, the MND's coming up, and there's a myriad of things. We've had the women's cancer, breast cancer stuff happening. There's a mountain of other. But all I ask is if you have a few extra dollars and you can donate. This year, one person will win a luxury trip to Bali, actually, worth about 10 grand. So, someone's going to be lucky there as well. But, it is a very good cause and not well known, but hopefully people can chip in.
No, brilliant. And is this your second year doing the 15 for 15 race, or is it the third?
No, I've been doing it a few years now. The first year I did it, I actually I thought I'll see how many push-ups I can do, and then I'll beat it each day. And
I remember you discussing it last year.
It wasn't a great idea, push-ups, but it wasn't a great idea. I had to beat them every day, and I think I got up to about 45 at the end, but it took me about month to recover. My chest was killing me. I didn't train up for it or anything, so not a great idea.
What was more strenuous on the body, David? Doing the jumper punch for 4 hours or 40 push-ups?
Well, I reckon I can handle 40 push-ups now. I'm back in the gym at the moment, so I had both my knees replaced in January. Obviously football related, but had both my knees replaced, so I'm back in the gym and doing a bit of pool work and gym work and that. So probably getting as fit as I've been for quite a while as well. So dropped a bit of weight and everything, which has been good.
I was going to say you're looking trim, Rhys, and I didn't know if it was deliberate, but when you came on camera, I thought he's looking good. I think he's working out.
I got into the gym last week and I got under 100, and I can't remember the last time I was under 100 Ks. So
there you go.
So on the way down too. So I'll get I haven't had a drink since the operation either. So keeping off the drink. Beautiful. Jimmy Buckley's pretty happy with that. He's got someone else who can another teetotaler to get around with. So it's
absolutely. That's it's always good to hear. While we've got
if you had said Jimmy Buckley and David Rhys-Jones would be off the drink, you could have got any old odds bloody years ago, but here we are.
It's good. It's great. It's good to hear. Now, while we've got you, obviously it would be remiss of us to not ask you about a couple of big moments, but day 3 of the 15 for 15, is that right, today? Day 3?
Yeah, we started on Friday, so we're up and going, and 15. What we're looking at with 15 highlights / lowlights of my career, it's been helped along with Tony DeBolfo and who's the historian at Carlton, which I think they overrode me on a few. I wanted all the good things to go in there, but they've thrown a few of the other things in there as well. So it was a pretty colourful career. So why not look at the 15 highlights of it?
Well, I've got a couple, and I'll start with one that I want to ask you about because I'm actually in London at the moment. My partner lives in London, Rhys, and I'm visiting. So what I want to ask you about, just to kick off, is the Battle of Britain in '87 and that infamous all-in brawl. Can you shed a little bit of light on what happened that day? Because lives in football folklore at this point.
Yeah, look, we were supposed to, we won the Premiership. North Melbourne had actually been beaten in the elimination final by Melbourne by, I think it was over 100 points. So John Kennedy was filthy, and he trained them right through the final series. There are a number of things that could have happened. I mean, he wanted to see who in North Melbourne had that shin bone of spirit. He revved them up and sent them out firing. But we were still celebrating a Premiership, and the thing that we found out later the North players were told not to associate with us on the plane. We went over in the same plane, never saw them. Stayed in the same hotel, never saw them until game day, sort of thing. And but the thing was, we had no intention of winning that game, because if you won that game, you had to go and play another game. You had to fly to Los Angeles and play another game in Canada. Otherwise, you flew to Los Angeles and you had a week on the VFL at the time. So we had no intention of winning that game. We were going to get beat no matter what, and we were going to enjoy LA and enjoy a week over there. So they come out. They were fair income, and I think McDonald hit me in the head at one stage, and I got home about 3 o'clock the morning of the match, so I didn't need anyone hitting me in the head. And I threw the ball away, and off we went, sort of thing, and away we went. But it wasn't a great advertisement for the game, but I can tell you the people over there, they loved it. They loved it, especially the Poms. To be honest, the Australians living over there had seen a bit of biffo and that sort of on the field, but the Poms hadn't seen anything like it, so they loved it.
Yep. Yeah, and speaking of, so were there any reports from that game? I don't think I asked you this last year. Were there any actual reports from that game and suspensions that followed through to the following year?
Yeah, I think there's only 13 of us reported in that game. So, and
were you one of them?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Of course, yes.
So, silly question, that one. But look. Yeah, we come back. We didn't really. There were no mobile phones and things back in those days, so we didn't realise how much it had caused over in Australia, being telecast back and on the news and everything. And so until we sort of contacted back home, we didn't realise it. Even then, you didn't think about it. But when we arrived back, it was just chaos sort of thing. And so 13 of us fronted up at the tribunal, and Ian Collins and Ron Joseph, they were arguing whether players could get reported in an exhibition match, whether they could be suspended for an exhibition match. So they were in there for ages. We'd already been out for lunch, Jimmy Buckley and Wayne Johnson, myself, and a few others, and we'd had a couple of Crown Lagers and whatever, and we decided, we'll get the restaurant to deliver a couple of more boxes of Crown Lagers up the back stairs at the tribunal. So we were up there drinking Crown Lagers while the Colo and Ron Joseph were in there arguing the point. They were in there for about 2 hours arguing the point about whether it could be. So they worked it out that what they did, they just filed us all in, 13 of us, sat us all down in a row, and just basically went 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, and that was it. But you could serve them in the Escort Cup matches, so which
okay,
playing in anyway. So those pre-season games, so no, there's no real penalty at all there.
So did that obviously didn't count towards the other 25 times you were?
It was one of the 25. The funny thing about it was Wayne Johnson got reported for hitting. He copped a couple of weeks for hitting Dipper in the grand final, so he was already under suspension. So I don't think they realised it at the time, because he only served the suspension. It didn't go on top of his other suspension. So it was an interesting one. That we shouldn't have been playing if it was a real match, should he? If he was rubbed out.
No. Now I'm conscious of the time that we've got you for tonight, Rhys. I know you're a bit busy. You've got another podcast to get to as well. But before we let you go, Carlton Sydney. Obviously, the game played on Friday. You played for both great clubs. How'd you see it? A bit disappointing from a Blues perspective, but did you make it up to Sydney for the game at all, or did you just sort of watch it from Melbourne?
No, I watched it from down here. I got up there last year, and my grandkids live with my daughter up in Sydney, so I got up there, and the best part of the weekend was with the grandkids. But they're over in Greece at the moment, so I didn't bother going up, and I'm glad I didn't. It was disappointing. I think it was a great start. We showed what we can do, but they're a good team, the Swans, and look, put it this way, they had one of their best 22 out, which was McCartan, and so they're at full strength at the moment, and we're well from full strength. So I think you got to put that into perspective. They're a good team. They're they're not flag favourites for nothing, sort of thing, and they've got no injuries at the moment, so they're off and going. They're rolling along. Where we're sort of got 4 or 5 blokes in or out each week, and it's getting tough, And to be perfectly honest, when you are playing the better sides, those few weak links we have got in there, and you could see that their midfield, it was always going to be the midfield who's going to win the game, and they just kept pushing numbers through there, and they were able to rack up big numbers. So they had some quality going through the midfield where, after our better players, you got Walsh and Cripper and a few others, Kennedy, Hewitt and that. And then next minute you've got Durden and Fantasia going through there. They're not getting the ball. They're not doing much. So whereas the Swans blokes were racking them up, kicking goals and hurting us. So, look, they're a quality team at the moment, but I just hope we get back to full strength, and we're playing them on the MCG again late in September and do what we did last year.
Let's hope so. It was a tough watch, but there's a long season ahead. We're not out of it. Rhys, I want to say thank you for joining us again. Hopefully we've been able to shed some light on Prader-Willi Syndrome again today, and good luck in the 15 for 15. Once again, if you're watching or listening, you can donate now at 15for15.com.au or visit pwsavic.org.au for more details. Rhys, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully, see you this
Thanks,
time
guys.
next year.
And, yeah, keep following the Blues. Look, we're going through a little bit of a tough spot at the moment with all the injuries and so forth. But you know, you just look at that injury list and you lick your lips when you think, you know, you get Sard back and Motlop and a few. I think they could be back this week. That sort of is going to bolster us a little bit. And yeah, hopefully we don't lose Weeders or any of these other ones because we just can't afford to at the moment. And we've got tough games coming up. We seem to be playing everyone who's in form. It's amazing how, you know, we come up against Gold Coast and they've really hit a rich vein of form. And we've got Essendon in a couple of weeks, Port Adelaide. I think we've got Gold Coast, Port Adelaide, and then Essendon. And all three of those teams, I mean, we've just finished with GWS, Collingwood, Geelong, Melbourne, Swans, and we've got three teams in pretty good form coming up. So it's pretty relentless a football season at the moment, but we seem to have all the bad luck. We keep getting the teams who've got no injuries and they're up and firing, and yeah, but that's going to do us well anyway in the future. So thanks for letting me on and speak a bit about Prader-Willi Syndrome as well. But yeah, go the Mighty Blues.
Go the Blues, and
Good man, David. Thanks very much.
Get
Thanks,
around one of our own.
David.
There's a lot of love for you in the live chat, David. Get around one of our own if you are watching and listening. Prader-Willi Syndrome. Thanks, David. Good to see you, mate.
Cheers.
There you go, boys. That's
good man.
different way to start our
He's
show.
a very good man.
He's a great man of the football club, and just a great person. Hopefully, I'm going to keep the ticker tape up for the show as well down there. Like I've said a couple of times, make sure if you've got a couple of pennies to spare, make sure you donate 15for15.com.au. Boys, now, Rhys gave us some nice perspective on the loss. I reckon we're not going to do the same because I'm still a bit shitty, if I'm honest. So it's good to get that perspective from Rhys, but let's just do this. I don't know. Where do you want to start? Because I don't know where to start with that one, if I'm being honest. I really don't.
All right. Well, I've watched the replay. Yeah, I've watched the replay 3 times, right? Already, and I've done my own coding for it and what I like to see, and it's yeah,
sick.
It was very. I know, and I make no apologies for it either. But my concern was that third quarter, and prior to the Boss press conference coming out or anything like that. Obviously, I was in Sydney with the great Michael, with Mr. Maloney. And just sort of turned to him after the game and just said, mate, we lost the game in the third quarter. Because I think if you look at that first half, you can say, all right, you know, down by a goal and a half, you think, all right, you go into halftime, reset, you know what Sydney have thrown at you, you know how they're setting up at stoppages, you can go in, reset and sort yourself out. And then Charlie kicks the first goal of the third, and I think, all right, here we go. It's the player you want to kick a goal in the third to get the energy up. And then the stoppages after that, we were set up like Auskick footballers at centre square stoppage. Pathetic. The coaches tactically inept, application inept. When all that combines together, you're going to lose by as big a margin as we did. And the way we wilted at stoppage in that third term was there's no excuse for it. If you don't live up to the principles that you set week by week, compass and pressure, see you later. Gone.
Yeah,
you're done.
I think they kicked 5 from centre clearances, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and they left a few in the basket as well, mate. Don't worry about that.
I think it was something like 41-13 for the game from stoppage.
Shocking. There's the difference. There's the difference.
Jules?
I think we started hot, to be honest with you. And I think it was off the back of our pressure. We had 17 tackles to 0. And we probably had most of the ball for the first 20 minutes as well during that period. But then after that, we just went in our shells. We just went into our shells, and I just feel like as if as a footy club, as a supporting base, we shouldn't accept. You know, that performance is unacceptable. I felt like as if we sort of just went into we started to hide, to be honest.
We gave up.
Yeah. Yeah, we
like,
genuinely just hid. Yeah,
I don't say it often, but and I don't know if it looked the same on replay, Paul, but when I was watching it live, I'm thinking they've actually just
we
put the
got
cue in the rack
defeated.
here. It's too hard today.
Yep. I think at the ground during that third term, everyone was slumped in their chairs knowing that they had, you know what, you have to look at, and people look at like the GPS numbers to say, oh, you know, they didn't put in the effort. They actually put in the effort. They were actually running and chasing, but it's not that. It's my idea of giving up and not putting in effort is not applying yourself to each contest and then everybody not executing what you're supposed to be doing. And then coaches and players on the ground not making moves when they realised that Sydney was getting on top at stoppages. And Michael Voss post-game said, I don't want to get into the details of it. There are a few mechanics we could have done better. And that's everybody included, right? But the problem is at the moment, you've got players in there, and it's by necessity with our midfield has to operate the way it does, that who else are you going to float through there? You can't. They tried Durden in there. Durden can't get a touch as a small forward at the moment. What hope has he got in midfield? He doesn't bring the pressure up in the front half. What hope is he going to have in the cut and thrust of a contest? You can maybe put Orazio through there as well, who went through there in the VFL, but are you going to rely on him? And then you're relying on other blokes who have barely been through there throughout the year. And for me, it was the way we applied ourselves at centre stoppage in that third term that cost us the game. And then when you go 5-6 goals down against that team at the SCG, that's when it was curtains and all done. And it was the way that they walked through contest in that third term and in the second half where you're just like, and they left a few goals out there in that last quarter as well, where they just ran through the middle and missed sort of 4 or 5 shots, which could have made it even uglier. So what was going on with the fumbles?
No.
But under no pressure. No pressure whatsoever. Drop marks. Blokes trying to pick the ball up off their feet. They couldn't pick the ball up off their feet. They're getting the ball here and doing that.
Handball regulation, handball receives. There were 3 of them that we literally just dropped the football. Like, I don't know. The fundamental. Yeah. I know you spoke about stoppage and whatnot, but Jules, for me, I don't know. The fundamentals for me were just absolutely nowhere after quarter time.
Yeah, for me though, I reckon it started even before the quarter time. To be honest, we were 20-something points up, and I just felt like as if, I mean, I can go into my calcs now, just quickly.
Let's do it.
So as a footy club, we want to be defined by pressure and contest, but we started off really well. And I sort of mentioned it before that we had 17 tackles to 0. But boy, that changed. By half time, it was 26 tackles to 48. So essentially they've had 48 tackles to 9 during that period. So that's just like a crazy amount. And obviously during that period as well, they would have had majority of the ball. By the end of the game, it was 55 tackles to us to 77. But I just want to go into greater detail in terms of who had the majority of their tackles. So their starting 5, I would say that majority of the time would roll through the midfield. You got Grundy, Rowbottom, Heaney, Warner, and an Adams. They laid a combined 41 tackles. Rowbottom laid 16 himself. Our 5, Pito, Cripps, Walsh, Kennedy, Hewitt, they laid 16 for the game. Rowbottom equaled our 5 midfielders and ruckman in the game. Terrible. Pito and TDK didn't let a tackle.
Terrible.
That's just...
So those numbers in itself, and probably, look, I couldn't really get the actual details as well. Arguably, a lot of those tackles, I reckon, were in the first 20 minutes by our midfield group as well. So for me, those numbers are alarming and staggering.
That is, I reckon that's your best calc for the year, Jules. I didn't realise Rowbottom equaled our starting 5 in the midfield for tackles. That's a complete indictment on the midfield this week, and they had their colours lowered. Very, very simple. They'll know it. They know it, but it doesn't doesn't mean that we can't call it out and be disgruntled with it because it's just not good enough. Like, you're coming up against a midfield that will tear you to shreds, and they did if you're not on, and they didn't want it all day. They just didn't. 51-13 was the score from stoppages around the ground. 31-4 from centre bounce. That's how one would. That's how one would.
Shocking, mate. Shocking. If you don't want to bring it at the contest, don't rock up. Voss has said that. If you don't want to bring it at the contest, we may as well not even rock up. And that goes for any team, mate. Not good enough.
And Jules, we've spoken about getting the balance right between transition and stoppage. Or right. We had no presence at stoppage whatsoever for the whole game this week. You know, it just shows how important it is that you've got to have both parts of your game going. You just do. Otherwise, you're going to get absolutely slaughtered by the best teams in the comp. You will get slaughtered. That's
interesting though. Like,
that's the loss. That is the loss that sort of performance deserved. If not, probably should have lost by more, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah. But we couldn't even get so we lost the contest game after the 20-minute mark of the first. We couldn't get our running game going, off the halfback, or even with the likes of an Ollie Hollands or a Blake Acres. But then we couldn't even try to get our contest going again after that as well. So obviously there's a lot of question marks even in terms of the coaching staff as well, in terms of their delivery and and obviously trying to get something going over the course of the game because our players couldn't.
This is a brilliant one that I saw on the stat sheet too from Petra. Swans had 17 bounces for the game. We had none. None.
Yep.
Not one player.
No one running ahead of the ball.
Not one player took a bounce for us for the game.
No.
So
that's
we
crazy.
got battered at stoppage, couldn't take a bounce. That is just purely, all that says to me is we did not rock up in any facet of the game whatsoever. No. Zero.
If you don't run ahead of the ball, and the problem is the way that we play, right, and the style that we play and the way we set up off the ball and on the ball, the moment you start taking backward steps and the moment you start playing flat-footed, you finish. It's over. The way we play has to be press, aggressive. And if you think you're leaking that little bit, you don't step back. You step an extra step forward. You can't. And I think Walsh mentioned it post game. He goes, it's on the people up the field to step up to allow the defense and our back six and back seven to step up so we can lock the ball in the front half. And that means winning clearances, winning field territory, locking the ball in your front half so you're not putting your defense under so much pressure. And everyone's, have you noticed no one's having a go at our back 6 or 7? Have you noticed that?
And
because not them. It is them to a point, right? It is them to a point.
No, you can't.
Can I read something out actually? And this is what I want to read out, right? Because I've just got it up on Instagram, right? And this was what Michael Voss said after the Melbourne game, right? Everything we do is about the collective. Everything we do is in our roles is about the connection we have. But the difference has to be in this game today is when we don't have the ball. That has to be the difference in our game today. It's how we are as teammates, because there's a whole bunch of people out in that stand that if we bring that part of our game, when we bring a tough style of play, when we bring a selfless style of play, they'll make the noise. So you don't have to worry about that. They'll connect into that as long as they see that we enjoy that space, that we're prepared to put their head over the footy. I'm prepared to run and put my head down to be able to cover for somebody else. I'm prepared to do those things because everyone is dialed into when they don't have it. That's the type of style we need to bring to this game today. That was that Michael Voss speech, or that rev up that he gave them pre-game against Melbourne. Did they deliver on any of that against Sydney?
Zero.
Not one iota outside of the 20 minutes in that first term. Not one iota. And the complete opposite was true in the third term.
Yep.
So if you're going to do it for 1 week and you're gonna drink your own bathwater and think that that's great, you got another thing coming for you.
Agree.
Another thing coming for you.
Agree. Now, there's a couple of other layers to this. So first one being our draw at the moment has been probably the toughest in the comp. It feels like we're just playing top 8 sides every week. I think across 8 or 9 straight weeks now, we're going to play top 8 teams by the time we're done with Essendon.
Yep.
Because the Suns are now in the 8. So, okay, it is what it is. You take the draw as you get it. that's something you got to deal with.
Mm.
The second layer to this, which is no longer the elephant in the room, because it's now been directly spoken about by the club in terms that we haven't necessarily heard them speak about it before. The injury front cannot be helping at this point. And Dan's spewing he couldn't make it tonight. He's got his sister's 30th. But he's been messaging me the last couple of days, basically saying, do you not understand now why I was saying, or why, and Jules as well, especially early in the year, round 3-4, why it is so critical to make sure you have your players on the park for as long as you can across the year, and none of this managing injury bullshit and all that sort of stuff, because right now we are under the pump. We just are. 14, 15 injuries and most of them really to players that are in your top 25. There's only so far the group can take themselves when you don't have that level of support. Do you see that at this point, Jules, as well?
Oh, look, I'm fully with you. For me, it's like you want to build that, like, and Voss is talking about the connection. You only build those connections with having the same person out. You know, your back seven, or your forward 7 or 8, you core midfield group playing regularly together, or else it doesn't happen. You can train it on the park during the week, but to actually put it in practice in a full on match is a massive difference. And we're not doing that at the moment. We can't. There's too many injuries. You need the consistency.
No, it is. It is. It is. The likes of Chera, Saad, they're superstars in this team. They are.
Walsh was out for what, 5 weeks?
Yep, Walshy as well. But right now, looking at it,
Pitto was out for how long?
Yeah.
Like even with our midfield group.
Right now, looking at it though, with who's on the injury list right now currently, Chera and Saad are superstars of the competition at their absolute best. They walk into anyone's best 22 every single day. There's 2 that we just can't cover for, right? Then you got the likes of a Fogarty, of a Motlop, of a Martin, that we know what they bring us, especially in the front half, right? And when you've got, and it's no disrespect to Corey Durden and Orazio Fantasia, but Corey Durden has laid 1 tackle in the last 3 weeks as a small forward. Now, this isn't pot shotting. They are facts. I can tell you now, Lockie Fogarty would not lay 1 tackle across 3 weeks. He's someone that sets the tone. Jack Martin hits the scoreboard every single week that he plays at a bare minimum. At a bare minimum. Corey Durden hasn't hit the scoreboard since he's been in the side. I think since the GWS game, maybe.
Yeah.
Fantasia can't hit the scoreboard. Like, there is a certain extent that it gets to where I understand the next man up mentality, but right now I can't see how next man up is going to help us with the depth of injuries that we've got. Now, luckily, this week sounds like we're going to get Saad and potentially Motlop back, which is nice, but this just can't keep happening. And unfortunately, now the spotlight does have to come onto the S&C department. And it's something that's not spoken about enough. It's something that's not called out enough. It's been, for whatever reason, it's been a talking point that just gets swept under the rug, and it's the elephant in the room. But I tell you what, if there's not a review happening right now in terms of our standards in that area, then we are going nowhere as a football club. We just are.
Yeah. My concern as well with it is like a Chera. When he came over from Freo, he didn't really have any issues whatsoever. Now all of a sudden, like last year, obviously hammy. He did his hammy the last 4 or 5 games or whatever, then came back, did his hammy again, comes back 1 game, and does it again. So it's obviously not. Obviously, we did get some players like a McGovern, like a Williams, and a few other players that were, injury prone. But it's not the case for all of them. So there's got to be a lot of emphasis and a lot of questions put onto S&C for sure. Has to be. And I feel like as if we, it's it is a question mark, but imagine if we only had 4 or 5 players injured over the course, average over the course of the last 10 games. What would our win-loss be?
Yeah,
But the fact that we are 6-4. So this is the perspective
Crazy.
I keep coming back to. The fact this is the perspective I keep coming back to. The fact that we are 6-4 with the injuries that we've sustained and the opposition that we've come up against, and that we've taken wins against Melbourne and GWS in that time, is beyond me. And it shits me and it frustrates me because of what you've just said there, Jules. Because if we weren't facing the same injuries every single fucking time we get to this point of the season, the same players, we could be a side that could break open this competition. But unfortunately, because we can't get the in-house right, we're not. It's not an excuse. It's not the only reason, but it's part of the problem, and it's a big part of the problem when it gets to this point.
Yeah, I'll tell you. You know what?
It's at a point where it has to be called out. Just double.
Yeah, it is. There's a point with which you have to put your hand up and say, okay, we don't know enough about the area because we're none of us are experts in it. But Dan obviously works in the industry, and you know I've been a bit of a guinea pig a few times doing some Nordic training and some Nordic curls through some studies through RMIT University and a few other universities where I've done sort of hamstring and Nordic curls and razor curls and gone through some studies there. And I love reading about all of this stuff. And the concern for me is, and I think people, once you've done, and you can probably all attest to this, when you've actually done the strain and when you've actually done a muscle or a calf strain or a hamstring strain or a quad strain, the recurrence of you doing it again is going to go up. That's just what studies show. The precursor to another injury is a previous injury, clearly, and that's what's happening with Jack Martin. The one that really Jesse Motlop, that just came out of nowhere, which was because he never had hamstring problems prior. Adam Sard has been so durable for us for season after season, and Adam Chera, we know, has had little hamstring niggles. So there has to come a point where you have to put your hand up and say, okay, well, we don't know a lot about it, but the results from our S&C department and high performers are suggesting that there's something is not right with the program with regards to the soft tissue and the strain that's being put on these bodies, right? Having said that, you have to operate on the edge, don't you? Because if you don't operate on the edge and you don't redline players, you're never going to get output to a point that's going to win a premiership. But then also you're going to hit a tipping point where you go, which is what's happened for us this year. Having said that, on the weekend, injuries were not an excuse for the application and the way we set up around the ground. That team had players on the field that were good enough to be far better off than a 52-point loss against Sydney, right? Whether or not the injuries are building up on the playing list and they're thinking, oh, God, here we go again. That's no excuse, right? But the capacity and the output which we have reached this year is nowhere near our potential because of what has happened with these players going down consistently. And it is just forever frustrating. And the question has to be asked, are our high performance team and strength and conditioning team doing everything within their purview and everything possible to give this team the best chance to play consistent finals and to win premierships? That's the question that needs to be asked.
The answer to that right now, from where I sit and from where we sit in the armchair expert seats, is no.
Correct.
Plain and simple, it is no. Because you can't say yes to that question with 15 on the injury list.
Yeah.
And like Jules, like you said, the part that shits me, and I want to ask you a question here, Jules, too, though, just quickly. But the part that really, really frustrates me is that there are players now going down with soft tissue injury that didn't have those issues prior to coming to our club. I.e. Chera, Sard.
Sard as well,
right?
Yeah.
Now, Jules,
has he frozen?
I reckon he might have frozen. I reckon we wait for 2 seconds, and if he lags again, you and I are taking over. Yeah, we're taking over by the. Oh no, he's back. He's back.
Oh, he's back.
Hey, I told you to drop out. Jules, injuries are no excuse. They're part of the reason. Now you've played at a semi-professional level and in I would consider an elite sporting environment across your career. When it gets to this point where there are key players that are injured, that you go into battle and they're not there beside you, how much does it affect your psyche? for the rest of the team that's out there.
Oh, look, there's no doubt. I mean, you always want to have the mentality that the team structures and the setup, etc., is far more, superior than any individual. Yeah, but in saying that, there are certain players that can win you games.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I think your structures, etc., gets you to a certain point. But in saying that, you do need a quality of player to win you games. And unfortunately, I feel like as if the players that we have had out can give us that extra edge, like a Sard with his run, like a Chera with his foot skills, like a Martin and a Motlop, and with their tenacious ability to hit the scoreboard and obviously their pressure as well and their X factor, and then the likes of Fogarty in terms of his tackling pressure inside forward 50, and a Cottrell now in terms of his running ability. So these are attributes that you can't just.
I completely forgot about Cottrell. I actually completely forgot about Cottrell.
You can't gather him overnight. It doesn't happen.
Fuck's sake, honestly.
It doesn't happen. So and that and not having those players doesn't allow you to pull those levers throughout the course of a game.
Yeah. All right. I think we've done injuries.
Not the coaching staff either throughout the course of the game too.
No, it can't help. It can't help. I think we've done injuries to death here. I think we've made the point, and it's very clear. It's not going to help. It's just not going to help us until we get some of these players back, unfortunately. And
it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
No, and that's right. And the
application. In saying that, I still think we had a side that could have bet Sydney on Friday night.
Well, this is what we were saying. This is what I was saying.
That's the thing. As long as they applied themselves for 3.5 quarters, but we only played ourselves for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
mate. This is what we were saying,
and lost by 40.
Yeah, Michael and I, we bumped into the president, Luke Sayers, the morning of the game, right? And we sort of sat there for 15, 20 minutes having a chat about the game and what was going on. And we kind of said, I sort of turned to him and I said, look, I know the injuries are shit, obviously, but looking at the squad, looking at the field, it looks good enough to be able to, really make a fist of this game. And we kind of all agreed. And, it's this week, it's, sack Andrew Russell week. And then there has to come a point with which massive questions need to be asked. And I think Greg Williams was quoted as saying that we're looking at getting in some sort of specialist to the club. I don't know how true that is, but something is going wrong, which is seeing a spate of soft tissue injuries continue and continue and continue and continue. But you know what the problem is as well? If you go in and bring a new head of high performance, we may still get the same issues. So then the question has to shift to, what's list management doing? Why did list management give March back?
But you know what, Paul? You know what? At this point, 6 years into Andrew Russell's
100%.
If you're 1 or 2 years in, I get it, but we're 6 years in now, and it's the same issue. So I can understand why the questions now need to be well and truly asked. Well and truly.
Yeah. No, I agree.
If you get someone in now, you got to obviously give them time to put the mechanisms in place. That's without a doubt. But in saying that, it could be surface issues at Icon Park. There could be a range of different reasons. We don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
All I know is, and all we know is, the application, the effort just wasn't fucking good enough on Friday. It wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. And from, Wiedering was out there for a half. Obviously, he went down. Again, that's another one. So he's gone down. Fuck
Corky. Yeah.
But you still had Cripps, Walsh, Charlie, Harry, Stars were still out there. They were still on the park. And there's certain leaders out there that just had their colours lowered. And Sydney absolutely put them to the sword. And they need to look at this. I said this to you, Paul. I think it was to you the other day around review. When the review comes on Monday, I'm expecting this club to. There's some individual performances there. I'm not here to pot shot players, and we're not going to, but there are some individual performances there on Friday and moments that need to be pointed out to the larger group to go, this just isn't fucking good enough from you. Yeah, I'm not going to name players. I'm not here to do that, but It stands out.
But
like
you know what though? We're not here to do that, but sometimes you have to, mate.
Hey, if you guys
Sometimes you've
go
got
for it, go for it.
Well,
If you've got performances you want to talk about, go for it. No problem.
Look again, and I know again. I counted right, Corey Durden. I counted 4 or 5 times where it was just a simple ground ball get, a pickup of the ball, and he fumbled it. You mentioned that he wasn't on the same wavelength as Elijah Hollands for that little sharp handball he should have received. Nowhere near it, right? Then you look at performances like the leaders in the middle of the ground to be able to set up and realize what's going on. Cripps and Walsh. How do you handle the tag? Who's helping Walsh out when he only has to get the ball 20 times and he's being, not hard tagged out of a game, but someone's playing the run with roll.
But where's the blocks? Where's the blocks at stoppage? There was nothing.
They were blocking us to make space. They were blocking us to make space, right? So, and then look, I mean, throwing Charlie down back and whatnot, and the collective.
I didn't like it,
and I can't. And I know Zach Williams has. I know he's coming off an ACL and everything, and it's not great. But now that we're building into the season, if he's playing in the forward line, I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing if he's playing in the forward line? I had a mate of mine message me who's a mad Sydney supporter, right? And he knows his footy inside out. And we were just perplexed with this Williams up forward role. He was playing on Harry Cunningham at one stage, and I don't think he was a direct matchup during that moment. But Harry Cunningham ended up getting forward and kicking a goal for the first time in about 50 years, right? If Zach Williams is not playing as a rebound defender, because that's what we've locked him in as now over the last couple of seasons, how are you going to teach him in the blink of an eye how to play a particular role in the forward line, right? Just ridiculous. If he's not playing as a rebound defender, he should not be in the team.
Yeah.
Right. But then at the end of the day, it's a business. Yeah. He's getting 750, 800K, whatever it is, right? You are almost obliged to play him on that kind of money.
Yeah.
And people can say, how can you say that? This is a business to a certain point at the end of the day, right? And players on big contracts are going to be favoured over certain players who aren't. That's just the way business is. That's the way it is. That's football, mate. That's football.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. All right.
For me, our midfield group, and I think I said it today, Joe, is like our biggest. How did I describe it today? I think I said it's our biggest strength, but it can also be our biggest flaw as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, if they don't turn up to go to work, they can absolutely become a liability, and we saw that. We saw that from the midfield group on Friday. They will know that entire midfield group will know that they have their colours lowered.
Shocking.
All right, let's get on to votes. I'll kick off this week. I don't usually kick off, but I will. I had Boyd for one. I thought, just like most weeks, he toiled and toiled and toiled. Did play the role he was. I just opened up the AFL app just quickly to get the stats up for these players. West Coast are beating Melbourne by 4 goals in the third quarter.
Sheesh. Well, there you go. It just shows you that if you're off that little bit, you're going to get done, aren't you?
Yep. Even by
Hawthorn was good value today, weren't they? They were fantastic value today, mate.
Great value against the power. So, sorry, Jordan Boyd. Look, stats wise, obviously probably doesn't stand out on the stat sheet. He had 19 disposals. I think it might be his highest for the year, but he's reliable. You know what you're getting from him every single week. He plays his role every single week. He's asked he executes what he's asked to do, and he executes it cleanly. He had 5 intercept possessions. He went at 90% disposal efficiency on those 19 disposals. Took 6 marks, 8 tackles. It just does what you ask of him every single week. I had Pito for 2, and this is why. And I know you changed your votes, Jules, but I didn't get a chance to actually do that, so you have to stick with what
you still change them after the or no?
Can't be fucked. So Pito had 20 disposals. He had 4 score involvements, 1 goal assist. This is the part for me. 11 clearances from your ruckman. He had half of our centre bounce clearances on his own, and he had a third of our total clearances for the game. So I had to get him in the votes because when our midfield's getting battered, when the midfielders at his feet are getting battered all game, they don't want to turn up and give the effort that is required. He battled all day to try and get him going. So for me, you've got to get some recognition for that, regardless of how poorly your midfielders at your feet actually work throughout the day. And then Nick Newman for 3. You guys can talk about him because I've spoken for long enough. So, Jules, go on, take your votes.
Obviously, Boyd, much the same. I actually changed my votes. I had Boyd for 2 votes, to be honest with you. And I actually snuck in Kennedy. I know I got Pitto there, but after looking at the game a little bit deeper in terms of tackling, etc., Kennedy laid 7 tackles.
Yep.
So out of the 16 our midfield group laid, Kennedy laid 7 of them.
Yep.
So based off those numbers, and Kennedy's not really a high possession getter. I think he ended up with 20-ish in the game. So that's why I actually changed my votes to Kennedy for 2. And obviously Newman, he was obviously our best on the grounds by a mile. It wasn't even close. It was actually hard to find votes this week, to be honest with you. I was actually searching for him.
Well, Paul, you've gone slightly different to the 2 of us. So take it away.
Yeah, well, for me, I went 1 vote Brody Camp, who had to deal with some of the easiest forward 50 entries that Sydney are probably going to have this season. So he took a lot of marks and tried to absorb as much as he could, especially with Wiedering going down. And he's always trying to move. He's always trying to be aggressive. He's always on the front foot. He's quick with his decision making. I thought against the Wave he battled on well. Nick Newman too. Same can be said for him. He tried to generate as much forward movement as possible. And I thought Elijah Hollands he was absolutely fantastic. I thought he was brilliant on the night. I thought he was our clear best on with regards to someone who actually went out there and actually took the game on and got into good space and always looking to move us forward and looking to generate score involvements and score chains. And I thought this was his best game for the club in a bit of a shit show with the rest of them. So, and a big shout out to Peter.
He was really clean. He was.
He was. Yeah, he gets himself into those little pockets of space in between the lines that can hurt opposition. So it's just a shame no one else came to the party along that half forward line. But a big shout out to Pitternet too, because these are those moments where everybody was having a go at him, saying, "Why did we sign him for 4 years? He's not good enough." But in a game where a lot of people lacked application and a lot of people lacked that principle, contest and pressure, one thing you can rely upon him is that he's going to deliver those principles every single weekend. I thought he was very good. Despite Grundy had a good game, but Grundy is a good footballer, and those 2 adversaries went head to head all night, and it was just the blokes at the feet who didn't help him out.
When it comes to Pitto and this 2 ruck situation, and I'm going to leave it on this, and we're going to get to Livy once I'm done. There's some debate around whether the 2 rucks work. If it doesn't, I'll tell you right now, it's not Pitto.
Yeah. Not the worst call.
It's not Pitto. And I know Tom, he's everyone's favourite player. He's a superstar at his absolute best. But since Pitto has come back into this side, if you're looking for where that 2 ruck problem might lie, I wouldn't be looking at Pitto right now. That's all I'll say about that. All right, let's get to Livy.
Hey everybody, it's Livy with Livy's Last Words, and this is what I thought about the game. Well, I can definitely say I'm very disappointed. We had a team out there that could get the job done, but we weren't able to do it just because of our injury list doesn't mean that we couldn't have won that. We had a strong team out there. Definitely thought we should have played better. Swans winning by 52 points was not good. We slacked off our pressure. We weren't dropping the ball, fumbling, and overall, I just really struggled watching that game. I mean, in the first quarter, yes, we did play absolutely amazing. We were winning most of the territory in contests. But then on the second quarter going on, we just got absolutely smashed. I mean, there's a reason why Sydney are at the top of the ladder. They just absolutely smashed us. But I am a little bit disappointed of how the boys played, the players. going into the game, I thought Walsh, was going to have a better game. But I still got to say, in the first quarter, he played absolutely amazing. Mackay and Kerno didn't have the most exciting game. Kerno still kicked 2 goals, which was pretty good. Walsh had a goal as well. Always was playing good in the first quarter and got an amazing goal. But every time that I went in the Swans forward 50, we would just be under pressure and, let them concede goals. I mean, I think they kicked 4 goals in 3 minutes. I was very struggling to watch it. I could not watch it. I turned it off. I literally turned it off in the last 5 minutes of the game because there was no point. I mean, Swans winning by 52, we should have done better. We had a team out there that could get the job done, but we couldn't do it. But next match, we are versing the Gold Coast Suns. Hopefully, we can get a few players back. Voss did say that there will be a chance that Sard and Motlop will be coming back in, which will be really good because they are definitely one of my favourite players. But hopefully we can win that one. I mean, Gold Coast Suns are not that bad this year, but we definitely need a few wins. But anyways, this is what I thought about the game. Go the Blues!
There's a comment here from Jimmy. If Liddy's turning the TV off, we've got clear issues, and that is absolutely true. Jimmy, absolutely true. All right, we've got another week in footy, as always. Suns, next Saturday, 1:45, Marvel Stadium. And they are in form. as it turns out, they're in form. So it's not going to be easy. How do we see it off the top?
Well, we'll probably get a few in, but we might also get a few that are coming out. that's the problem. So look, back at home, under the roof of Marvel, the psyche will be much different because it's our home game, and you know that they're going to be on the front foot from the get-go, our boys, that is. Having said that, the Gold Coast represents a far different proposition than what they have been in previous seasons because they have a new coach. They have a team that is in form. They have Ben King, who's firing, Bailey Humphries, and a few others up front that are causing some pretty big issues, and their midfield is very, very, very good. So I would argue that Gold Coast actually have more match winners and more stars around the park than what Sydney do. But it's a few of their bottom players that'll let them down. Having said that, I do think we will win. But, they'd want to change up the psyche and the way in which they approach and apply themselves because they will get found out big time if we do not.
Jules?
Yeah, I'm just having a look at their numbers, their midfield group. Anderson, 42, Flanders, 37, Arrau, 35, Miller, 32, Sexton, 32. Yeah, so man, our midfield would want to get to work come Saturday, that's for sure.
They will. They will. They know they were poor. I'd be surprised if blokes as proud as Walsh and Cripps and Hewitt and all those other guys are not looking at that game and thinking, geez, we need to be so much better than we were. So, it's not letting them off or anything, but they will definitely know that they had their colours lowered. Well and truly had their colours lowered.
Yeah, but
they'll be bringing back a few as well, the Suns.
Yeah,
they left a few out of that game.
Like you said, it's a very different proposition, the Suns this year, to what they have been in previous years. They will not lay down, and I'm worried about this one. If I'm being honest, if we can't bring an application to pressure and contest that we saw earlier in the year from this group for 4 quarters, we're in trouble. We're in trouble on Saturday. So I can only hope after that Sydney performance that they bounce back. But if they're to dish up something similar again, I'll tell you what, the jungle drums are going to be beating from the supporters very, very quickly. And I'm not here to advocate for it.
No.
But We got to pull our finger out.
Yeah.
This season is going to get away from us very quickly, and I get it. I've always been one that says it can turn in an instant. Look what happened last year. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to win 10 games on the trot again in the back half of the year. So if that's what we're banking on to make top four, because that's the aspiration is top four, no doubt in my mind we'll play finals at this point. I'd be shocked if we miss finals from here. I really would. It would cut me deeper than anything else if we miss finals from here with the team that we've got. But if top four is the aspiration, we need to pull our finger out quickly, very quickly, because it's going to get away from us.
Yeah, it will. I'll say the optimistic or the optimist in me says that, you know, each game week to week is a different proposition. I don't look at it and say, because Gold Coast beat Geelong by 10 goals and because we lost by 50 points against Sydney, that means, we're stuffed. You know, I just look at the markets and say, you know, we're $1.30 favourite to beat Gold Coast, right? So that has to say something. And again, back at home, it's a different environment, different game, different opposition. Each game week to week is a different proposition. So I would suggest that there's two things I wanted to raise, right, holistically. So if you look at the team at the moment, right, you would say, based on what we did last season, we're in a better spot than we are, just from a win-loss perspective. But the performances at the moment are very wishy-washy. And Michael Voss, in the preseason, and this is the second point I wanted to raise, he said that our goal and one of our main ambitions is to become a consistent home and away team, right? I'll ask you two boys this, and we can ask the chat as well. Have we been that this season? Have we been a consistent home and away team to date? I would say no. Having said that, this 5-game block that we've played, I think we've hit the bare minimum, and we want to break even to a point where the fixture opens up. Hopefully the fixture does open up for us, but I mean, you look forward now and you're thinking we're playing teams in form, but we are not a consistent home and away team at the moment. That we are far from that at the minute. Far from that. It's very yo-yo like, and it's frustrating as supporters and players, and as a team, because you can't really get a gauge on where you're at because we're yo-yoing at the moment.
Yeah, it's fair.
I have no doubt that we're. I mean, our win-loss is better than last year at this point. That's for sure. I think we've been more consistent as well compared to last year. That's without a doubt. But in terms of the yo-yoing, I mean, obviously we've seen it over the course of the games, but we've seen it within games as well. And I think that's another concern. I feel like as if we've, played a good 20 minutes, or we've played a good half, or we've played a couple of quarters, or one quarter, or bits and drabs here and there. And I'm not calling for a 4-quarter performance because we play good sides. There's probably quite a few sides in the league at the moment that would arguably be within a chance for top 4, and then obviously having reaching the grand final, winning the flag as well. So, but are we playing that consistent brand of football and our brand of football for the most part? And that I think that's the key. I think if we play our brand of football for the majority of games, I think we win more often than not. But we're not doing that at the moment.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's two parts you can take with it. You can look at, and this is the way you assess it, right? You either go results-based analysis, which can be fraught with danger, which if you compare to last season suggests that we're better off than last season, or you can go by performance-based and just say we are defensively, we just look. We've conceded, I think. So we're the 4th worst off or 3rd worst off. We've nearly conceded 1,000 points already.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? So you can compare yourself to last season, and that's fine. That's all well and fine.
Yeah.
Arguably, based on win-loss and based on some of the teams that we've beaten under some injury siege and, battling the draw that we've been given early on.
Yes.
All right, 6-4 is good. But comparing to yourself can only take you so far, because there are 17 other teams around you that have also improved.
Yeah.
Now, have the teams around us from this time last year improved more than what we have to this point? I would say yes, based on what I've seen. And that there is for me the scary part, is that we've got teams around us that were sort of either below us last year or around the same sort of mark that have clearly taken a massive leap in terms of where they were, and they've leapfrogged us to this point. So how now, halfway through the season, how do you catch back up to those teams that have momentum, that have a game plan and have players that have stepped up to the plate and improved out of sight? How do you keep up with the benchmark around you? It's not about the benchmark that you set for yourself last year. That's arbitrary. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
We could have been 1-8 last year and we'd be 3-6 instead at this point. We'd go, yeah, we're better than what we were, but it means fuck all. It means nothing. It's the teams around us. And Gold Coast this week, this is going to be the barometer for me. So we've played some really, really good football teams. They've been really good football teams for a number of years now. Gold Coast are a team I look at that I go, they have clearly taken a leap from where they were last year. Have they leapfrogged us? And this is the week for me to see where we're at. This is it. The yo-yoing, that there's a number of reasons for that. Draw, injury, everything we've spoken about across this episode. Gold Coast are a team that have potentially leapfrogged us, and we this week in isolation need to go, no, we're still better than you. You haven't leapfrogged us. We've got another level that we haven't gone to yet. That's what I want to see. Because if Gold Coast come out and they give their best and we don't, they will kill us. Yeah. And we'll be sitting here going, that's another team that's fucking gone ahead of us that we can't catch now.
Yeah, look, there's a number of factors of where we are. You know, obviously it's the run of games that we've had in the last 5 weeks, plus the injury toll, etc. as well. You know, so you put those two together. No other team has had those factors.
No, that's true.
No other team. Now, to your point where comparing us against other teams, there's no doubt that we're comparing ourselves to other teams because that's the nature of it. But in saying that, I think our best for long enough in games beats anyone.
It does, but we haven't seen it for long enough in games, Jules. Yeah. This is the problem.
Yeah.
We say it every week.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we need to compare ourselves to other teams in terms of win-loss. We need to find consistency in our brand of football for long enough and get the defensive attributes that we did have for the second half of last year more consistent in this season. Because if we do that, that's going to allow us to win more games of footy. But I don't see it. I don't see it at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's clearly not there. It's clearly not there. And
have you seen the ladder?
I haven't, but
it's ridiculous.
We're only one game. We're only one game out of from third.
Yeah. It's so from second all the way down to 10th. It's a game and a half, right? But I don't want to get trapped into that bullshit. Because that's but I guess it just shows you how I mean we say it every year how tight it is.
Like if we win 2 out of the next 3, we're probably 6th.
Yeah. Anyway, that's for end of the season. That's for end of the season for me. So I'm not looking at that at this point of the year. So
it is for the end of the season, but like I said, Paul, it's going to get away from us very quickly.
Yeah,
At the bye, I said 2 weeks ago at the bye we need to be 8-5. Because you look at the back end of our fixture, and I seriously think we can win about 8 games there, just based on how soft the draw becomes for us. We've got Richmond, North, Hawthorn, and West Coast in the back half of the year. That's 4 wins for me. That non-negotiable wins. Yeah, that gets you to 10. There's another 4 there that I think in the back half of the year that we can scrape. But we need to be 8-5 if we want top 4 aspiration. The next 3 weeks, it's got to be 2-1. There's no room for it to be any less than that.
Yep.
No room.
Yep. Big assessment coming up after the Gold Coast game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big. We're either 7-4 and we're going, all right, we're beating teams that we should be beating and we're back on track, or we're 6-5 and we're staring down the barrel of Port Adelaide and Adelaide and a red-hot Essendon on King's birthday eve, and it's just it could get ugly very, very quickly. And I hope it doesn't. I'm still optimistic. I'm optimistic always, but it's just you can feel that pressure piling on already. And
but the opposite can also happen very quickly as well, whereas you can just click into. But you know, I find it funny that the most toxic and the most horrific it had been in years from our fan base and what occurred after the Essendon game. After that actually happened, we went on this crazy run.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm kind of just a little bit worried that if we start letting them get away with, oh, we did it last year. Oh, it's okay. We'll be all right. If you start falling back into this mold of, oh, if we get this player back and if we get these players back, we're going to do this, this, and this. Very, very, very dangerous place to be in. Because then you just expect it to happen.
It's a very fine line. It's a very fine line at the moment. Let's just hope we can get a win against the Suns. So we're not sitting here next week going, well, fuck, where to from here, essentially. So
yeah. Big game.
Boys,
big game.
It's been a pleasure. This is what it's all about for the rest of today. This is it. And right there. That.
Forever blowing bubbles. Pretty
bubbles.
Do
something, West Ham, please.
We need West Ham to just fucking pull out a miracle. We need them to pull out an absolute miracle. Already. Yeah, there it is.
I'll be on air tonight, boys. 11:30 p.m. Premier League preview show on SEN, and then straight into kickoff 1 a.m. So it'll be an absolute pleasure to work radio for the final match week of the Premier League. So
I'm still spewing you're not here, but obviously for personal reasons it couldn't happen. That's fine. That's fine. Family comes first, but
it does.
I'm still deliberating whether or not I'd grab a last minute ticket. So I'm going to keep my eye on StubHub, and if not, off to the faltering fullback in Highbury and sing some piss for the rest of the day.
Yes.
Paul, what else? Before we let you go, what else you got going on at the moment?
This so an Untitled Blues podcast, which we will be recording on Tuesday afternoon at SEN, myself and Nick Negropontis, as part of the SEN podcast network. The Jumper Punch, we will be live on Tuesday night from 7 p.m. So that'll be good fun. And then, just a whole heap of stuff with SEN Track going on, plenty of racing to get through. So it's all happening. And then we'll see you at Marvel Stadium on Saturday afternoon. So if you see me and bump into me, come up and say hello. Don't be scared. And hopefully we collect 4 points on Saturday.
Shout out to Johnny at the Wandsworth Demons as well, the AFL London club that my lovely partner plays at. He's an avid listener. I met him during the week, and I'll give him a little shout out as well. Jules, pleasure to see you again, as always. Good luck with the rest of the week. We'll catch you next Sunday. Boys.
Dan back next week?
Yes, Dan will be back next week. There were a few comments tonight that said it's much quieter without him tonight. So it has been nice, actually. It's been good. Boys, thank you very much. Until next week, up the baggers.
Ciao.
Up the baggers.